So before I get into the video, another big thank you again to everybody who's subscribed. 5,157 as it stands, and it's a number I never ever thought was possible. So huge thanks. I even think I'm getting to know some of you personally now through your comments and interaction on YouTube. So hopefully I can keep it growing, but in terms of keeping it growing, I do have a favour to ask of you. If you haven't already subscribed, please subscribe. It really does matter to YouTube. They track this stuff and see how much engagement there is with the channel. So the more subscribers, the more likely they will promote your video. It's as simple as that. And also, if you have subscribed, another big way you can help me is to just share the video across your Liverpool mates, Facebook groups, stuff like that. I know as well a load of you have already done that and shared it, so thanks again for all the help that you've been giving me. One last thing, I haven't mentioned this before, but to those of you who have used super thanks, I cannot believe your generosity. I didn't even know super thanks was a thing, but people will hit the super thanks just as a way of saying thank you for enjoying the videos, meaning that some of you have actually sent me money without me ever even asking for money. And I can't tell you how humbled I've been by that, how much I appreciate your generosity. Anyway, to anyone who's used super thanks, I can't thank you enough, I really can't. On to the video. So after the cauldron, that was our last away game at Newcastle, and then dispatching both Bournemouth and Arsenal in our own games, it's on to the challenge of newly promoted Burnley at Turf Moor. Now, while newly promoted teams are notoriously difficult, especially away from home, especially early in the season, Liverpool have a quite impressive record against newly promoted teams over the last 8, 9, 10 years. In the last 27 games, home and away, against newly promoted teams, we've won 20, drawn 6 and lost just 1. If you look at just the last 12, we've won 11 and lost 1. Last season, we won all 3 away games against promoted teams, Southampton, Leicester and Ipswich, but importantly, all 3 of them were a real battle. Against Ipswich on the opening day, they kept us out until the 60th minute when our beloved Diogo opened the scoring for the season, and we ended up winning the game 2-0. Against Leicester in April, we really struggled, and it wasn't until the 76th minute when we scored the only goal of the game from our now departed right back, and we won the game 1-0. Away at Southampton, it was even more of a struggle. We won that with an 83rd minute Mo Salah penalty. And remember, Southampton finished the season as the 2nd worst team statistically in the Premier League, and yet it took us till the 83rd minute to beat them 3-2. Now, I promise I'll mention the C word just the once. And if you watch my videos, you know my feelings on the mentality against the so-called weaker teams. We do have a tendency to lose the usual concentration, the focus, and yeah, we can be complacent in these games. So as with every Premier League game, we cannot take anything for granted here. Let's talk about Burnley. They finished the Championship season last season with 100 points, and they had a quite incredible defensive record of conceding only 16 goals in 46 games. Now, they had James Trafford in goal last season, who was absolutely superb, and Man City went and bought him. They only lost 2 of those 46 games last season, although they did draw 16. And it's important, they only scored 69 goals in those 46 games, so they only averaged 1.5 goals per game, but it was that defensive record that meant they could accumulate 100 points even with only 69 goals. Now, in terms of this season, They've only played 3 games and they've already conceded 6. They've already conceded almost half of what they conceded last season. 3 each against the teams who finished 15th and 17th last season, Man United and Spurs. Although they were very, very unlucky to lose that game at Old Trafford 3-2, where the Manx were given their obligatory 93rd minute penalty and Burnley also scored an own goal. They've also won a game this season. They beat fellow promoted Sunderland 2-0 and they lost away at Spurs 3-0. Now, in the 3 games this season, against Spurs, they had 32% possession and a 73% pass accuracy. They had 4 shots on target. Against Sunderland, even at home, they only had 41% possession and they had 2 shots on target, but they scored them both. And against Man United, they had 38% possession, a 70% pass accuracy, and only had 3 shots on target and scored 2 of them. In terms of their defence, yet they've let 6 goals in so far, but they've actually only given up 13 shots on target across those 3 games. So the other teams have averaged only 4 shots on target across those 3 games. But as I've just said, in terms of their possession, they have very, very little possession and don't offer too much threat at all. They've only averaged 3 shots on target across their 3 games this season. They're also managed by Scott Parker, who might be suffering a little bit from Liverpool PTSD because he was sacked 3 days after he last managed a game against Liverpool when his Bournemouth team lost 9-0. So we'll be a bit wary of that, given this is the first time he's had to face us since. As for Liverpool, of course, we are perfect so far this season, 9 points out of 9. Well, perfect in terms of results, if not so much in the overall play on the field. The displays have been a little bit patchy, but that's to be expected. So early in the season, with a completely revamped squad, and not just a revamped squad, a revamped first 11 as well. I mean, across those 3 games, we had Frimpong starting and then he went out injured. We had Gravenberch, who was suspended. We had McAllister, Gomez and Bradley all coming back from injuries. So we haven't so far had a full quota of players to choose from, as well as trying to bed in so many new recruits. I think it's fair to say Hugo Ekitike has been the one who has really hit the ground running. Frimpong's been injured. Kirk struggled but looked so much better against Arsenal. And Florian Wirtz, everybody needs to calm down, especially the UK media. He's played 3 games in a new league. First of all, against a super fit Bournemouth who don't give you an inch on the field. Then against the aerial bombardment of Newcastle away with all of the Isak stuff going on. And then against the team most likely to be our most serious challengers, Arsenal, in a very cagey nip and tuck game. And even then, against Arsenal, that last 30 minutes, I'm sure you saw what I did. You saw glimpses of what Wirtz is going to be all about. He's going to be an absolute gem for us, make no mistake about that. He'll be controlling the narrative of games, I think, moving forward from now. I'm probably starting against Burnley at the weekend. Yeah, he's taken 3 games to get up to speed, the pace, the aggression of the Premier League, but soon that'll all be forgotten. Of course, we now have the first opportunity to play new signing Alexander Isak, but he hasn't played a competitive game since May. And so 3 months without a competitive game, no chances he's starting. He may come on, maybe get 20, 25 minutes towards the end of the game, depending on how things are going. He only played 18 minutes for Sweden the other night, even though they were actually 2-0 down and lost the game 2-0. In terms of injuries, thankfully the 2 who hobbled off and looked like they were in a bit of pain against Arsenal, Konate and Wirtz, It turned out they both just had cramp, and both of them played all 90 minutes for their respective countries in this week's international games. Jeremy Frimpong was slated to be back after the international break. He didn't travel with the national team, so he's probably likely to be available, but no chances he's going to start, given that he's been out for a few weeks. Also, we have very adequate cover there. We had Conor Bradley, who looked really good for Northern Ireland in the internationals. And of course, we've got the best right back in the Premier League so far this season, Dominic Szoboszlai. Szoboszlai cannot be left out, no matter what. He's been our best player in the first 3 games this season. He won us the game at Newcastle with not just a brilliant clearance from virtually under the bar, but also that incredible dummy for YNWA's winner. And then, of course, that stupendous free kick against Arsenal. So I think Arne Slot is likely to start with the same 11 who started against Arsenal. That would be Alisson, Kerkez, Van Dijk, Konate, Szoboszlai, McAllister, Gravenberch, Wirtz, Gakpo, Ekitike, Salah. I'd be surprised if he doesn't go with that same 11. That gets all 4 of our first choice midfield quartet on the field at the same time. And also, we've seen it already with Szoboszlai, how he can utilise his midfield brain by advancing from that right back position. And I think Szoboszlai will play a big part in this game on the front foot rather than as a defender. On the left wing, Cody Gakpo needs to really show up in this game. He's up against 35-year-old Kyle Walker, most likely, and he needs to use that 9-year age gap to maximum effect. Now back to Burnley and their possession. They've averaged only 37% possession so far this season across their 3 games, and their pass accuracy is 74% on average. That's incredibly low. It means that they don't have much of the ball, and when they do get it, they give it away a lot. But they don't play hoofball. This isn't the Sean Dyche Burnley of the past. They do actually try to play football, although in this game, they're very clearly, I'd be surprised if it's any different at all, they are going to bunker in and try to make the most of the limited chances that they're going to get. They don't have a team full of explosive pace. They don't have a team with goals across that team. They don't even have prolific strikers. Last season, Burnley's top scorer, across 46 games, remember, not 38, was a fella called Josh Brownhill, who scored 15 goals from open play and 3 penalties, but he left. So their top scorer from last season has gone. He went off to Saudi. After that, the next highest goal scorer got 12 in 46 games. His name is Zian Fleming, a Dutch player. And after that, the next was a fella called Jaden Anthony, who got 8. So they don't pose much of a goal threat. And we are, based on the possession we've already had in our games this season and the possession they've gave up, we're likely to be seeing about 70% of the ball. And that's really important because this game is all about us. It's all about what we do with that 70% possession. It's the champions versus the newcomers into the division. And I think the biggest threat we have in this game is one we would pose ourselves by not being 100% focused for 90 minutes. We've got to be at it 100%. And if we are, we've been averaging 3 goals a game over the last 12 or so games, and we've scored for 37 consecutive league games, a record across our 133-year history. Burnley, of course, it's a free hit for them. They're going to be relishing the chance to put one over on the champions. What a scalp that would be for them to beat us, and we can't give them any encouragement. They're going to have a rabid crowd. It's a small crowd, but it's a noisy crowd. And they're going to be fully behind this team from the kick-off, and we've got to be ready. Now, I know loads of Burnley fans And the noisy buggers, even when they're not at the match. Hiya Pete. By the way, Pete Emsley, who watches these videos, was my football coach in my playing days, and he's a huge Burnley fan. So hello Pete. And think about what Burnley have got to keep out over these 90 minutes. They've got to keep Salah, Ekitike, Gakpo, Wirtz, McAllister, Szoboszlai and potentially Isak quiet. They've got to keep that brilliant set of attacking players off the score sheet. So this is a huge chance for us to maintain this perfect start to the season. 12 points out of 12 if we win it, and potentially put more daylight between us and the chasing pack. Although our three most likely challenges, you've got Arsenal at home against Ange Postecoglou's Nottingham Forest, Chelsea are away at Brentford, who have tipped to go down, and Man City at home to Man United. So with all three of them likely to win, so must we. So after saying all that, I expect it'll be one-way traffic for a lot of this game. I expect that Burnley's defence, as good as it was last season, is not going to be able to keep us out. And I suspect that Burnley will not have too much of an attacking intent. So I'm going to predict a Liverpool win. Let's hope I'm right. I'll see you after the game for the post-match review. Cheers, all the best. You'll never walk alone. Ta-da.